Everyone please stand for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all.
Devices?
Ms. Kelly, yes, devices, silence, please, me included. Thank you, Larry.
Is that a practice?
Yeah,
I'm out of practice,
Yeah.
it's been a month.
telling you.
Kelly, a roll call of the commission, please.
What's your name?
Audrey Byer.
Here.
Chris Burkhalter.
Here.
Dwayne Jakey.
Here.
Larry Marshall.
I'm here.
Doug Neal.
Here.
Michael Fudley.
Present.
We have a quorum, we can conduct business, we're only missing Ms. Pearsall. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Support.
We have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None? Motion carries.
We have an
Approval.
agenda.
Agenda we have. Next is approval of the January 15, 2026 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any changes? I was not here then, but I did not see anything obvious.
Move to approve the agenda, the meeting minutes of January 15th as submitted. Support.
We have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? None? Motion carries.
Excellent.
We have minutes. So that's our business. Call to the public, limited to agenda items only. If anyone would like to speak, please do. I don't have a timer set yet, but keep your comments to 3 minutes, and please give your name and address. Okay, seeing none, close the call to the public. We'll go on to business items. So this tonight is simply a discussion on the adoption of an ordinance establishing a high resource demand facility, including data centers, to the Green Oak Charter Township zoning ordinance. The proposed ordinance would create a high resource demand facility, including data centers, overlay district to provide standards and regulations for the siting, development, and operation of data center facilities within designated areas of the township. The ordinance addresses permitted uses, development standards, infrastructure requirements, and other related provisions. I don't expect that there's going to be any business done tonight on this. This is simply a discussion. We're trying to get in front of this issue. So, that being said, Ms. Marin, would you like to lead off with some
Sure. Thank you, Mr.
thoughts?
Chairman. May I request that we push that chair back and shimmy down so that
Oh, yeah,
I can
come on
be in
in.
front of the mic?
Come on in, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
No exclusionary.
We weren't trying to push you off to the
Thanks, all.
corner.
I mean, I had a good view, but
value
I
your opinion.
have a feeling that in that room, they're not going to like that angle. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so these are effectively data centers. We are not using that term, however, because this technology is changing so quickly. We want to make sure to encompass anything that is going to present a similar concern from a land use perspective. So we've gone with the phrase high resource demand facility. And just as a bit of background of where this came from, we're at CWA, we're writing ordinances for every community, including built-out cities, to try to get ahead of this issue. And so this has been like a group effort at Carlisle Wortman, including from our resident expert, Mike Auerbach. He's in Saline Township, and if you're following up with data centers at all, they're getting one. So the collective mind at CWA has come up with regulations that are fit for township, regulations that are fit for cities, and then we adjust them accordingly based on what the specific needs of Green Oak. So that's where this has largely come from. Along with the regulations, there's the overlay district that's being proposed. First, considering going into the industrial only, but we're restricting to an overlay that you see before you. One of those areas, one of the parcels in one of those areas does overlap slightly with the wellhead protection area. However, that they could theoretically do a parcel split and no longer be in the wellhead protection area. But in no case would a data center be in the wellhead protection area. I could walk through each of the sections, but I'm sure you've already all read this and probably just want to get to discussion and questions. I do want to point out that in the definitions, we do differentiate between consumption and usage, because I understand that was a concern at the previous meeting. And then within the regulations themselves, we use the appropriate term. So happy to answer any questions, although I know Ms. Sawada here has additional insights and perhaps questions as well.
Yeah,
Please, Ms. Watt.
so I just had a few, in reviewing the draft ordinance, a few comments for the Planning Commission to consider tonight during your discussion. You know, one of the items is the Planning Commission could prohibit fuel storage and diesel generators, period, with these facilities. That's something to think about. I would also recommend that applicants be required to provide a sound study and water consumption calculations at the time of site plan submittal. And discharging to the sanitary sewer may require the development of an industrial pretreatment program if sewer is available to the parcels, depending on what type of chemicals are proposed within their cooling system, et cetera. And I would also specifically state that they are not permitted in the wellhead protection districts. And under H.1 of the draft ordinance.
Which page?
Okay, let me go to the page.
The numbering
I
is,
think 11.
Is it 11? Thank you. Okay. I would also recommend that you add a sound study to paragraph 1. So essentially, it gives you the right to hire a sound engineer on these specialized projects.
Under I, monitoring and reporting, number 1.
No, H, use of consultants and cost recovery, item 1. The township may retain qualified consultants to review energy efficiency, water consumption, and use. I would add sound study. I mean, you have it covered under and related matters, but that is certainly a concern of the public with these proposed uses. And then under J. Dot 6.a, I have to find that. That is on page 11 also. Oh, wait, no, 12. Page 12. Failure to decommission. So at the end of paragraph A, I would add that and assess/lien parcels for any cost in excess of the amount of the submitted bond. That's related to the decommissioning bond, which I think is excellent that it's in here, since they're often,
What category is that? What's the number?
that was on page
Oh.
12,
5 or 6, okay.
yes, 6A. And those are my comments on the draft language for your consideration tonight.
Thank you. Commissioners, would you like to, Dwayne, would you like to give your 2 cents worth?
Well, my 2
Or
cents.
5
worth-
cents worth?
How about
10?
5 second worth? I would absolutely be opposed to putting a ban on diesel-powered generators. To blatantly make that a rule across the board, I think that's ridiculous.
Would that only be a rule limiting to these areas?
Well, what drives this whole meeting is talking about data centers, okay? But if there are other uses that come up, we're gonna prohibit that? I don't understand that. So with,
In a high resource demand facility
yeah,
overlay?
yep, I would have a problem with diesel,
Okay.
banning diesel generators. Out of everything that was mentioned, that's the only issue I have.
Okay.
Dwayne, would that be for emergency/backup power? Or, I mean, because some of these are using it as like a supplemental feed. Because they're drawing so much, it's a supplemental source of power, having the generators.
Right.
I mean,
Being running all the time. as
yes,
compared
they're
to
running all the
an
time
emergency.
versus power's out. Yeah.
Grid failure versus supplemental power during operations.
So would you be open to preventing use full-time
Yeah,
as a supplemental? In other words, strictly as an emergency backup when
I
power
think
goes
there's,
away?
sure, I think there's some guardrails that we could think about
Well-
and consider.
They could have to be enclosed in a building with the necessary sound attenuation. I mean, there's a variety of things that we could do if diesel generators were going to be present to make them as least obtrusive as possible and enclosing them and sound attenuation, those types of things. You know, I see where you're coming from, but on the same token, if you look at how many it would take to do even a small data center and the sound that creates, not only is it the exhaust sound, but also the cooling fan sounds, which we've all heard certain trucks when they go down the road, when their fans kick in, it sounds like the world's ending. You know, just super exaggerating, but we have to make sure that, I'm not opposed to generators, but let's control them again.
Okay,
You know, I understand where Dwayne's coming from, and I totally agree.
understood. All right, Mr. Marshall. Dwayne, you're finished?
I think there was one other comment I had heard, maybe it was in our last meeting. The concern was, were we going to use, were they, call it the tenant or the builder or the property was going to draw from groundwater and discharge onto groundwater. And I think there's a pretty negative perception that that should be allowed to happen in our tributaries of the Huron River. So making that point.
Of course, agreed. My understanding is that a lot of these designs are now a closed-loop system where they may draw out, use water, let's say however many gallons, and then it's kept in a closed-loop system for cooling, not continuously drawing out of the groundwater, short of evaporation, let's say, or leakage, where they have to top off a little bit, something like that. So that's my understanding, which would be very important to me because this whole township is on well and septic, you know, for the most part.
The early data centers, some of the ones that were put in other areas, did draw from groundwater and discharged to surface water. And yeah, they created quite a problem, but those data centers are kind of like an iPhone 1 versus what's out there now. They found out from a cost standpoint and resistance standpoint that the closed-loop systems now are significantly more efficient. That's why we have to define usage versus consumption. They may use 1 million gallons to get the thing going, but once the thing gets going, and I'm throwing that figure out just as a figure,
Couple hundred gallons or whatever,
then
evaporation.
make up on that maybe less than 5% a day or 3% a day or something of that nature. So that's where I think we need to go with that, is, and then the other thing, and came from Supervisor St. Charles, there should be a strict prohibition of discharges to the water of the state. That means all discharge must take place on site and retain on site.
That shall not drain off the streams into the river.
Right, prohibit discharges to the waters of the state.
Yeah.
So then everything would have to be kept on site.
Creating retention ponds.
Correct.
There was a link I saw to, I think it was from Consumers Power, now has a part of their, I think it's on their website, but they have data center information. Sorry, it's not DTE, it's Consumer.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out as well.
Yeah, Deb sent me a link to that too, so if nobody got it, you can get it from her.
All right.
Mr. Marsh, your thoughts?
I had a question about regulations on fuel storage tanks. I mean, I'm not familiar with who does regulations on large fuel storage centers. I don't think we've got any regulations on that from the township standpoint.
Actually, we did when dealing with the one fuel station at Pleasant Valley and Grand River. We required them to have triple wall tanks and monitor them on I think it's on a weekly basis
For any leakage.
for any leakage.
That's in the wellhead.
And that is in the wellhead protection area, but regardless of whether it's in the wellhead protection area or not, do we need to go to the triple wall? If it's not in the wellhead protection area, I think that we certainly say that if there is going to be fuel storage on site, it is up to the owner of the site to provide the highest level of protection available.
And that's regulated through Eagle.
Correct.
Well, that is through
Right.
Eagle? Okay.
We just added the triple wall based on the wellhead protection.
Yeah, there's various brand names like Eco Vaults.
Correct.
Is one. And they provide electronic sensors.
Yep.
And they're operational 24/7.
That station up there on Grand River, they've been there a great number of years. They reseal their driveway, seal all the cracks every quarter. I mean, they are a model of protecting the environment in the wellhead protection area. They're pretty good. And any drain off goes into 4 bays and is also taken care of at that point.
Larry?
A question I had on the, what do they call it, the transparency requirements, requiring that a bunch of windows be put into the facility. Since one of the issues that we're dealing with is cooling, and if I add a bunch of windows, I've got additional cooling I've got to manage. If we had since we're 200 feet from all the roads, and please make sure it's private roads and public roads.
That's a good point.
I noted that throughout here. If they're 200 feet from the road and we stiffened the screening requirements around them, could the buildings get away without having to put all these windows in that they've got to now absorb all this additional heat energy from the sun and increase their cooling load?
And even if they did put windows in, who says that they can't have a 75% tint?
So you can't see through them anyway.
Right.
So, Larry, your assumption is that they're done for aesthetics? Windows? and
Yes.
stuff? Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I've done plenty of fake windows. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I've set a window in a concrete wall, and from the outside, it looks like a window.
How do you clean it?
You only clean one side.
only clean the outside.
You only get the dirty on that side.
You clean it. Good point, Mr. Chang.
In terms of the facade articulation architecture standards, we can certainly pull it back. This was sort of just the recommended baseline, and if it's going too far, if we think it's overkill, we can absolutely scale it back.
Who made the recommendation? Is that required out of any type of building standard, or is that just something that Carlisle Ortman came up with?
This is just something we came up with so that it looks nice, kind of like how we require the masonry construction on our industrial buildings
Okay.
already. We just hate.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I just, when you said that requirement, it's like, okay, where did it originate?
No, yeah, the recommendation.
On Paul's desk.
Right, it originated with Paul.
Let's blame it on Paul, he's not here.
He's not.
There's a reference to cooling towers up on page 9. Do we have to meet our height restrictions, which were, 40, 45 feet?
50?
50, right? In all those districts should be 50. So they.
I'm used to
Yeah,
I'm used to power plant cooling towers, which are a little bit more than that.
yeah, that's, the language of the zoning ordinance may exempt, usually certain features are exempt from the height requirements, but let me verify in our existing ordinance language to see if there's a loophole and if it is fitting for what we want here. Because
I don't think
it will be,
Let's not use the word loophole, how about we use the word exception? Loophole sounds
Yeah.
bad, I just don't like it.
yeah, sure.
More like rule of
An
thumb.
exception. Yeah, let me just verify that.
Yeah, I don't think, and I'm not sure I would want a full-size cooling tower in the township. I mean, because they're really big. I mean, there are other ways to cool your water.
Oh, you have more points, Larry?
I've got a million little nitpicky things I'll send her that we don't need to go over at this point. Permits for water withdrawal. I was trying to find out who does the permitting on water withdrawal in our township. Is that Livingston County? Is that state,
The county.
county? Okay. He hasn't called me.
The state might as well, though,
Wells as well.
depending on the area.
Okay.
Do you mean a withdrawal through a well, a groundwater withdrawal?
Through whatever means, if I suck it out of a river,
The
if
health
I suck it out of a
department.
lake.
Right.
Yeah.
I would recommend that those calculations be provided at site plan,
Okay.
what they're anticipating. It would go through a township review, the county,
Okay.
and depending on the withdrawal, it might even involve Eagle.
Okay.
So it really just depends on the quantity. And if they're connecting to LCWA, then that also, that goes through the township and then
Right.
the water authority. So it really depends on which parcel and what the proposed is.
Okay. And I believe that was part of the data that they provided as part of the initial review. That's,
Okay,
yeah, pretty much the serious ones. Lots of
Okay.
just
very good.
my typical nitpicky stuff.
We're discussing.
Yep.
Since we are discussing, the heating and cooling units are exempt, or are an exception to the height regulations. So with that in mind, do we want to add a unique height limit to cooling towers? Because otherwise, they can be
How
taller
tall?
than we want.
How tall are they now?
So 50 plus.
It doesn't specify.
So they can be really tall.
Wait a second, what you said in the current ordinance, not in this
In
ordinance?
the current zoning ordinance, they are permitted, they're an exception to the height regulations. It doesn't say how,
So
there's no
anybody's-
restriction,
So
essentially.
anybody's cooling tower?
Right, anyone's heating or cooling towers.
1,000
Do we
feet.
have
1,000 feet.
do we have a height restriction right now on building height?
Yeah,
50.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
So you're saying that the Holiday Inn up there is not 50 feet tall?
Well, in these districts where they would be permitted. Actually, you know what?
I'm asking a specific question.
I don't know how tall the Holiday Inn is.
Okay, but we have height restrictions for buildings.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's determine what the height restriction for the buildings are.
So since we're doing this as an overlay district, we can build all of our own. So in the proposed language before you, the building height is 45 feet, but we can clarify that, and any, not just cooling towers, but any other feature that's currently listed in the ordinance as an exception does have a maximum height that's different than the 45.
I guess what I'm trying to do here is that we allow a hotel to go in with whatever it has, and it has a certain height. Now, if we say cooling tower, you can only be this height, and it's somewhat less than the building height over there, we're opening ourselves to an exposure, saying, you're giving it to the hotel, how come you won't give it to us?
Well, that was in a PUD, so you can't really compare, yeah.
Defend that in court.
Well, PUD is a negotiation. It's
Correct.
going to be easier to defend in court than if it was in a standard zoning district.
We'll put you on the stand. You see where I'm going with
Yeah, I see where you're going.
I just want to make sure that we're limiting our liability exposure under all conditions.
What I can do is just research what the typical height is
you go.
of the heating and cooling towers for these facilities and
Great.
keep that as a max.
Okay. All right, Larry, you pretty good for now?
Yes. Yes.
All right, we'll go to the other end. Audrey?
My interest across the township is if the high resource demand facility and/or data centers look at reuse of existing buildings which are no longer production facilities and the such?
That would be fantastic. At the last planning conference, I was in a data center facility, and there were data center developers on the panel, and that was the big question. Why do you have to use greenfields every single time? And it's just a cost thing for them. They said, oh, we'd be very open to, opening this, but doing this in an old mall, but it just costs way more. And these are probably going to be obsolete within the next 10 years anyway.
Correct.
So building regulations for adaptive reuse, it just probably won't be used by any developer. These are just going up so fast, and they're going to be on satellites in 10 years anyway because they don't need to cool, and they've got free solar power up there. So
And that's why the decommissioning is so important.
right. But it's a very good point.
Where am I?
Oh,
Drive by,
good point.
Wrote that down.
drive by empty facilities that are just
Yep.
sitting already on the corner of, insert names here, with acreage and buildings on it. If we can't upcycle or reuse or, yeah, just a thought.
Mr. Nail?
I think we definitely should look into the sound study. I mean, I think that's, obviously one of the major concerns. I mean, I think it needs to happen. I don't think it's a question about whether it should be in there. I do like strengthening the decommissioning bond. I think that is also something we need to strongly consider being in there, because what does happen in 10 years or 11 years? And if it's not enough, the bond cost isn't enough to cover it, I can't predict the future costs, so that's all I have.
Very good. Mr. Sedlak,
Well, let me pull out the list.
take a deep breath.
We've talked about exclusionary zoning, why we have to create this. We need to take care of the discharges, that all of them remain on site, regardless of where the water comes from. If we are going to do a sound study, we need to do all hertz ranges rather than just human ear hertz ranges, and define that, not just a dBA scale, but we need to go up and down to find for the low frequency hertz or the ultra high frequency hertz that these centers develop.
Affecting animals, livestock, things like
Correct. And then if they are going to have the generators, we need to have those sound studies done while they're, or equal or comparative, however you want to put it, another facility of what the sound discharge is on those. Because, and I'm using this only as a comparison, my home sits probably less than 100 yards off of the railroad tracks that run through Island Lake Rec area. I can feel the diesels when the low frequency hertz that the diesels produce on the locomotives. I get it, they're mobile, but they're moving, but you can feel them. So we need to make sure that there's not only sound attenuation, but vibration attenuation as well. And that's where the low frequencies come in. I think the ideas that you've come up with, Leslie, are terrific. I think we're on a great first step. And we can do this very quickly.
Okay, a little bit more rewriting and back over it again.
I had one question.
Go ahead.
If you're done, Mike.
Yes, I am.
I had read a couple of articles about harmonics being injected into the electrical infrastructure that they suspect is coming from some of these facilities. And I don't know if we can monitor that.
You're talking about interrupting the hertz frequency harmonics?
Yes,
So you're talking about actual electric harmonics?
electric harmonics.
Rather
being
than sound
reflected-
harmonics?
Yes, electrical harmonics being reflected back out into the network.
Interesting. So you're saying interruption in the sine wave?
Yes, and it's they're starting to see areas where appliances are failing as a result of having to deal with these additional frequencies.
You're not getting 60 hertz back in through your house.
Well, you're getting 60, but you're also getting 120.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's
240,
causing
and
the,
you get some higher frequencies, and it
Is this
freaks-
something that DTE can provide us if you're saying you're reading this? What are your sources and how can we verify it?
Let me do some more digging on it.
Perfect, thank you. Because I don't want my stuff blowing up.
Oh, I'd rather mine doesn't.
Yeah, please.
All right. Does anybody have any more? We're setting this aside for at least a couple weeks.
I'd like to see it on the next meeting.
We have the public hearing for this scheduled for the February 19th meeting. So all direction that you can provide is welcome. You all have my email, so I think it's
I even
important to
have
make
your
moves
phone
here.
number.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on the location of the overlays or the suggested location of the overlays? What was the criteria that was used for these?
Honestly, I can answer that for you.
Dartboard, was this?
No, Mark and I looked in the township, because we started working on this actually when we saw the hysteria that was being created in the other communities surrounding us. We knew that we had to get ahead of this. So we decided to look in the township, areas that would have the least impact on the greater community. And we chose areas that will have that. I mean, let's face it, who's going to go over next to the prison? Nobody really wants to go next to the prison. Who's going to go at the north end of Rushton at the old, whatever the name of the dump company was there? If you want to build one there, that's fine. It'll clean that area up.
Right.
Up and down Whitmore Lake Road, there's a lot of empty property there. The former Superfund sites on Spicer Road, where the EPA, when I moved out here in '85, was still cleaning up those EPA Superfund sites that are now closed. You want to build a data center on a Superfund site? Yeah, I guess have at it. But
Okay,
we have to have areas for them,
right.
just like we had to have areas for adult entertainment clubs. And we provided zoning for that as well. We can't be exclusionary, but we can limit it. We're not purposely trying to make it undesirable, but if somebody wants to interpret that way, I guess they could.
It's more so where would they fit? And where would
Least
they-
impact.
And where would they not fit? Yep.
Yeah, the least impact on our citizens if one were to decide to come here. And the whole idea is to get in front of us and protect our citizens. And be transparent about it, which is why we're here today talking.
Very good. So does anyone have anything more? Or we'll email more thoughts to Ms. Marin and go back over this in 2 weeks. Public hearing.
I did diligently take notes.
I saw you.
We
Thank you.
didn't land on anything for the diesel generators, so I can include some different alternative language in the next iteration, and that can always be decided after the public hearing, at the discussion, before any adoption.
yeah, I think one of
or
the main things
recommendation.
is gotta, if there's diesel anything at any time, there's gotta be sound study of when it's full tilt operation, whatever that generator's,
Couple suggestions?
Under load.
yeah.
Let's look at what Livonia has for the Roush facilities there, where they have a myriad of dynamometers and diesel generators operating. There's a good opportunity to look at that. Much as I hate to say it, South or Lyon Township for the diesel generators that they had operating at the former dump site there. What kind of regulations did they have sound-wise for those?
Where was that?
The ones at Milford Road and Grand River, that former dump that was there, they had all those generators there that were running off of the,
At the
gases that were coming out of it.
Methane, yeah.
Salem Township, where they also have the same type of thing. And what kind of regulations do they have? And it has to include more than exhaust sound, it also has to include fan sound, cooling fan sound. if they so choose to have that. I know, Michelle, I'm dumping on you, but
No, this is great.
we want to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the concern is the noise generation, and that will be what is focused on here. Okay, great. So that's definitely what I've heard. The noise study, it needs to be fleshed out a little bit more with everything that we discussed. That's where probably the majority of the changes are to be made to this draft.
Okay. All right. Very good, then we'll close the discussion on the adoption of an ordinance establishing a high resource demand facility, including data center. So good discussion. Okay, we'll go further later on. All right, so reports. Chairman's report, all I have is along with the completion of the M36 roundabouts this summer, the corner of Rushton and Doan shall be rebuilt this summer, which they're going to shave off the hillside, basically. It will be a stop for Doan Road coming uphill. Rushton will go straight through, north and south. Concerns, and I've talked with the police about this, and I got to put in a call to the Livingston County Road Commission about dropping the speed limit there as people come north through there. Otherwise, they could be coming through there 55 right past the fire stations.
They're not going to tell you anything because they don't determine the speed limits.
State.
Yeah, it's a state issue.
try
I
to
will
put a
be
suggestion.
attending the Huron Valley Road Committee meeting on the 11th, or before the next meeting.
Put a
And
suggestion.
I'll put a suggestion in, but I'll also give you a full update on all the roads that will be affected in Green Oak this coming summer, and it's a bunch.
So that's why Rushton there doesn't have a speed limit sign on it.
Keeps getting knocked down.
Around me.
My GPS never knows what speed limit it is.
Rushton
One
does.
says 1,
Pretty
25, one
tough road.
says 55.
Russians like here.
That's a
Yeah,
crazy
something like
intersection.
that.
You're fine, terrible.
People have died there, yeah.
That's a terrible intersection.
Terrible.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have. Township Board Representative Michael. You-
We had our meeting last night. We had our first budget hearing, or not hearing, but our first budget workshop as well last night. Obviously, we continue to lose funding from the state, so we have to be creative in how we're spending the money that we have. And then, of course, our spending keeps going up in the clerk and elections department because of Prop 2 and Prop 3. The state is going to force us to buy all new election equipment before the 2028 elections at a cost of approximately $15,000 per precinct. So, and we're not going to get state help this time like we did before, so just for that alone, it was $180,000. So it's horrible. And then on another note, 142 days to go, and I will no longer be here.
Who's counting this?
No, I'm not counting, So,
Who would be our new Township Board Representative?
I'm going to make a recommendation to the board.
That's up to the board.
It's up to the board. I can make recommendations. It has to be a township resident. I have someone in mind already that I believe will be a great fit.
Does it have to be a board member?
No,
Oh, okay.
citizen,
A representative of the board?
citizen.
Okay.
And already knows elections, already knows the process, so on and so forth. So I think it'll be an extremely smooth, considering that we're having elections in, maybe have one in May, and then August and November. It's imperative that we get somebody in that can hit the ground running.
Okay, very good. Thank you for staying on that. Zoning Board of Appeals Representative, Sarah is not here, so we'll skip that. Planning Consultant, Michelle, do you have more for us?
On the meeting in 2 weeks, in addition to the high resource demand facility, you can expect a revisit of the accessory structure amendment and perhaps 1 or 2 development reviews if they get their stuff together.
I get it. Correspondence, Deborah, anything that we didn't receive? Okay. Then on that, another call to the public, if anyone would like to speak on any issue, not limited to the agenda. Yes, sir, please.
Concerning the noise studies.
Please step up and again, say your name and address.
I'm Jeff DeLong, 11300 Post Lane. On the noise studies, I was wondering, since we have noise from inside the building, noise from a generator if there is one, noise from cooling towers if they have them, are we going to study all of those noises together to see what level they're going to be coming up to if they're all on at the same time? I think that that's something that the neighbors would want to know. That's for sure.
Agreed.
Yes.
That would be ideal.
That's all I had to say there.
Thank you for your thoughts. Yes, ma'am.
I'm with him. I mean, what can I say?
So your name and address.
About that.
Sharon, yeah, I know. Sharon DeLong, 11300 Post Lane. I'm wondering about light pollution. Has anything been issued regarding that? If, I know we're not in a dark area, but is there an issue there with light pollution?
Strict standards.
I'll say that we do have strict standards
Okay,
on lighting.
yeah, on lighting, okay,
In general, we make them point it down.
yeah.
We're
okay.
pretty tough on that.
Great, okay.
We don't like it either.
Okay,
We like our pretty clear sky.
yes, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
Mark Nice, South Lion, 63052 West 8 Mile Road. So I've got a daughter, I've got grandkids in Lyon Township. Talking about the light, they're looking out at the Coca-Cola plant, who said, we have strict rules on lighting. I'm just, I know we're different. Anyway, the blinding light, it's supposed to look down, it doesn't. The other thing, issue, and I've gone to the Lyon Township meetings as well. Another issue is all of the trucking that needs to go into a facility to build it. The concern that Lyon Township had was they're not running these gravel trucks 6-9 months up and down Milford Road. All right, so they're going to come off the freeway, Grand River, and take South Hill, where you've got industrial on both sides anyway, and there's not a lot of traffic, it's dirt. So that's something you really need to consider. Where are all these trucks going to be traveling? Another thing I heard the debate about the height, the Hilton or whatever that is. I would have to imagine we have a difference between structures and occupied buildings. For example, for a hobby, I used to put up windmills just as weekends. And I know certain townships, I could only go so high. It's not a building, it's a structure. So you may want to consider something to that effect. And I really appreciate you guys getting in front of it. I mean, this is remarkable. It's a stark contrast between you folks and Lyon Township. Thank you.
Well, we've seen what's going on, and we don't want it happening here, so.
Well,
We have to let progress be progress, but we can also guide it.
right. Well, one of the concerns, and you've already addressed it, is the decommissioning, right? I mean, let's look at windmills. Blades fly off, they got no place to put them. There are some feelings that this is going to be like the dot-com bubble. Everybody wants data centers right now. Where are they going to be in 10 years from now? There's a lot of lithium batteries, right? Have we talked about lithium fires that the fire department cannot put out? You just sit there and watch. Where does all the smoke, contaminants, everything, the pollution in the air go? What happens to the ground? Lithium batteries, you address the low-frequency hum. So this has been known to cause, I don't want to say mental, but mental disruptions in people, headaches, things like that. The noise, the light, the water consumption, they say, oh, it's a closed loop. Sure, it's a closed loop, but you have to purge it. It has to be purged at some point in time. The other point, I don't know about Green Oak, another point they made in Lyon Township was about everybody there has a backup generator because they can't keep the power going. And, you have to talk about what kind of megawatts. And it's not even megawatts, it's gigawatts. What kind of gigawatts of power are they going to consume, and how does that affect the neighborhood? So those are some of the major concerns. And somebody mentioned something interesting too. You know, they talk about all the jobs. Yeah, there are a lot of jobs in the construction. But to maintain something like that, there's not a lot of jobs. And somebody said, well, ask them how many parking spots and bathrooms they have in their plan. Because that's a pretty good indication of how many people they might have. So that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, if that's all, anybody else have anything? No? Okay, then we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent.